Benjamin Franklin, January 17, 1706, OS, Simaid. January 6, 1705, Note 1, April. 1790, was an American polymath, a writer, scientist, inventor, statesman, diplomat, printer, publisher, and political philosopher. Among the most influential intellectuals of his time, Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States, a drafter and signer of the Declaration of Independence, and the first Postmaster General. 2. Born in the province of Massachusetts Bay, Franklin became a successful newspaper editor and printer in Philadelphia, the leading city in the colonies, publishing the Pennsylvania Gazette at age 23. 3. He became wealthy publishing this and Poor Richard's Almanac, which he wrote under the pseudonym Richard Saunders. After 1767, he was associated with the Pennsylvania Chronicle, a newspaper known for its revolutionary sentiments and criticisms of the policies of the British Parliament and the Crown. He pioneered and was the first president of the Academy and College of Philadelphia, which opened in 1751 and later became the University of Pennsylvania. He organized and was the first secretary of the American Philosophical Society and was elected its president in 1769. He was appointed Deputy Postmaster General for the British colonies in 1753, which enabled him to set up the first national communications network. Franklin was active in community affairs and colonial and state politics, as well as national and international affairs. He became a hero in America when, as an agent in London for several colonies, he spearheaded the repeal of the unpopular Stamp Act by the British Parliament. An accomplished diplomat, he was widely admired as the first U.S. ambassador to France and was a major figure in the development of positive Franco-American relations. His efforts proved vital in securing French aid for the American Revolution. From 1785 to 1788, he served as president of Pennsylvania. At some points in his life, he owned slaves and ran for sale ads for slaves in his newspaper. But by the late 1750s, he began arguing against slavery, became an active abolitionist, and promoted the education and integration of African Americans into U.S. society. 7. As a scientist, Franklin's studies of electricity made him a major figure in the American Enlightenment and the history of physics. He also charted and named the Gulf Stream current. His numerous important inventions include the lightning rod, bifocals, glass harmonica, and the Franklin stove. He founded many civic organizations, including the Library Company, the University of Pennsylvania and Philadelphia's first fire department. Franklin earned the title of the First American for his early and indefatigable campaigning for colonial unity. He was the only person to sign the Declaration of Independence, the Treaty of Paris, peace with Britain, and the Constitution. Foundational in defining the American ethos, Franklin has been called the most accomplished American of his age and the most influential in inventing the type of society America would become. 11. Franklin's life and legacy of scientific and political achievement and his status as one of America's most influential founding fathers have seen him honored for more than 2 centuries after his death on the $100 bill and in the names of warships, many towns and counties, educational institutions and corporations, as well as in numerous cultural references and a portrait in the Oval Office. His more than 30,000 letters and documents have been collected in the Papers of Benjamin Franklin, and Robert Jacques Turgot said of him, Eripuet fulmen cello, mocais ceptra tyrannis. He snatched lightning from the sky and the scepter from tyrants. 12 Ancestry. Benjamin Franklin's father, Josiah Franklin, was a tallow chandler, soaper, and candlemaker. Josiah Franklin was born at Ecton, Northamptonshire, England, on December 23, 1657, the son of Thomas Franklin, a blacksmith and farmer, and his wife, Jane White. Benjamin's father and all 4 of his grandparents were born in England. And fool. Sat fucking no 13. Josiah Franklin had a total of 17 children with his 2 wives. He married his first wife, Anne Child, in about 1677 in Ecton, and emigrated with her to Boston in 1683. They had 3 children before emigration and 4 after. Following her death, Josiah married Abiah Folger on July 9, 1689, in the Old South Meeting House by Reverend Samuel Willard, and had 10 children with her. Benjamin, their 8th child, was Josiah Franklin's 15th child overall, and his 10th and final son. Benjamin Franklin's mother, Abiah, was born in Nantucket, Massachusetts Bay Colony on August 15, 1667, to Peter Folger, a miller and schoolteacher, and his wife, Mary Morell Folger, a former indentured servant. Mary Folger came from a Puritan family that was among the first pilgrims to flee to Massachusetts for religious freedom, sailing for Boston in 1635, after King Charles I of England had begun persecuting Puritans. Her father, Peter, was the sort of rebel destined to transform colonial America. 14. As clerk of the court, he was arrested on February 10, 1676, and jailed on February 19 for his inability to pay bail. He spent over a year and a half in jail. Franklin was born on Milk Street in Boston, province of Massachusetts Bay, on January 17, 1707, Note 1, and baptized at the Old South Meeting House in Boston. As a child growing up along the Charles River, Franklin recalled that he was generally the leader among the boys. 18. Franklin's father wanted him to attend school with the clergy, but only had enough money to send him to school for 2 years. He attended Boston Latin School but did not graduate. He continued his education through voracious reading. Although his parents talked of the church as a career, 19 for Franklin, his schooling ended when he was 10. He worked for his father for a time, and at 12, he became an apprentice to his brother James, a printer, who taught him the printing trade. When Benjamin was 15, James founded the New England Courant, which was the 3rd newspaper founded in Boston. When denied the chance to write a letter to the paper for publication, Franklin adopted the pseudonym of Silence Dogood, a middle-aged widow. Mrs. Dogood's letters were published and became a subject of conversation around town. Neither James nor the Courant's readers were aware of the ruse, and James was unhappy with Benjamin when he discovered the popular correspondent was his younger brother. Franklin was an advocate of free speech from an early age. When his brother was jailed for 3 weeks in 1722 for publishing material unflattering to the governor, young Franklin took over the newspaper and had Mrs. Dogood proclaim, quoting Cato's letters, "Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech." 21. Franklin left his apprenticeship without his brother's permission, and in so doing became a fugitive. Franklin is known to have played the violin, the harp, and the guitar. He also composed music, which included a string quartet in early classical style. 285. While he was in London, he developed a much-improved version of the glass harmonica, in which the glasses rotate on a shaft, with the player's fingers held steady, instead of the other way around. He worked with the London glassblower Charles James to create it, and instruments based on his mechanical version soon found their way to other parts of Europe. 286. Joseph Haydn, a fan of Franklin's enlightened ideas, had a glass harmonica in his instrument collection. 287. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart composed for Franklin's glass harmonica. 288, as did Beethoven. 289, 290. Gaetano Donizetti used the instrument in the accompaniment to Amelia's aria, Parce mi dica ancora, in the tragic opera Il Castello di Kenilworth, 1821. 291, as did Camille Saint-Saëns in his 1886 The Carnival of the Animals. 292. Richard Strauss calls for the glass harmonica in his 1917 Die Frau ohne Schatten. 288. And numerous other composers used Franklin's instrument as well.